From their shocking and abrupt exits from the NCAA Tournament to the Hall of Fame induction of their legendary coach and the infusion of young talent getting ready to descend on the program. There's a lot going on within the walls of the Michigan State basketball program, and to get up to speed on everything happening with the green and white, I enlisted the help of Ryan Squanda, a Spartans beat writer for the State News, to get up to date. So first of all, Ryan, we want to take the opportunity to welcome you to the Two Man Advantage podcast, and we're excited to talk some Michigan State basketball with you this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So when we look at Tom Izzo and his Hall of Fame honor, obviously he's made the NCAA Tournament 19 consecutive years, and then he's made 7 Final Fours. So can you tell me what you think this honor means for his legacy as a coach at Michigan State and a coach in general?
Yeah, so we talk about those like 19 straight tournament appearances, the 7 Final Fours, the 7 Big Ten championships. Really, I think it was not really like a question of whether or not Tom Izzo was going to get into the Hall of Fame. It was just kind of like a matter of when. And for him to be able to get into the Hall of Fame, it's kind of funny to listen to him talk about it. He says when he started out his coaching career, like the Hall of Fame wasn't even a thought. He said that it was too much of a dream to even think about. And I'm only 22 years old, so I guess I haven't really seen him go from that starting out as like an assistant coach in the 80s in Michigan State, then taking over for Jeff Heathcote in the mid 90s. But it's a pretty cool story to see him be able to go that far, and also Tom Izzo is like a really, really good guy too. And his players like playing for him. His assistant coaches stick around for a long time, and he's probably there's probably not many people more deserving than Tom Izzo to be able to get into the Hall of Fame.
No, there's no secret that one of Izzo's driving forces to still be coaching is to wrangle that second national championship. Do you think the early exit against Middle Tennessee State was a lost opportunity for him? And do you think he'll eventually get the second national title?
Yeah, I definitely think that this season, losing to Middle Tennessee just because of the talent of the team he had, I think it was a little bit of a lost opportunity, and I think Tom Izzo will tell you that, and I think his players will tell you the same thing. They had all the pieces this year. They got off to that 13-0 start. They were on a roll heading into the tournament after winning the Big Ten tournament, and really for like those 2 months before the NCAA tournament began, a lot of their games weren't even close, and just like the stat categories, Michigan State was leading the nation, and from like 3-point shooting to like rebound margin to points margin. This was a talented team, with Denzel Valentine, arguably one of the nation's best players. Matt Costello was really coming on strong. Quentin Forbes was like hitting everything, and when they slipped up against Middle Tennessee, that's why there's so much emotion, and I think that's why the loss hit them especially hard, because they had the team that could have won it. And as for Izzo being able to eventually capture a second title, I think you can't ever count a guy like Tom Izzo out, because of he's a Hall of Fame coach. So you never know, and especially with this recruiting class he's got coming in next year, they should be a force to be reckoned with next year.
Can you tell me, describe for me the topsy-turvy nature of this past season? Obviously, Michigan State was ranked in the top 5 for a while, and they sort of tailed off because of injuries, and then they were back in again in the top tier of college basketball. So, can you tell me about your thoughts on the season as a whole and how it kind of unfolded from your perspective?
Yeah, so there was like different parts of the season. From I was covering it for the State News. It's the school newspaper here at Michigan State. They started off the season as probably one of the best teams in the nation, like you said. Kind of bolted up into the number one ranking eventually. Being teams like Kansas and Louisville and Florida early on in the season. And then, of course, Denzel Valentine got hurt, so they run in a little bit of funk when that happened. When he came back, still was kind of feeling things through, and they lost those 3 straight games. But eventually, when Denzel Valentine kind of settled into that point guard role, they were clicking on all cylinders for the last 2 months of that season. And, just that Middle Tennessee game, but Middle Tennessee has just played out of their minds and, kind of ended their run earlier than I'm sure they would have hoped.
And just to follow up, what do you think happened against Middle Tennessee State, and why? Because some people have called this one of the biggest upset in college basketball history. So, what do you think went wrong against Middle Tennessee State? And do you think the loss and not being able to capture a national title will affect the legacy of this senior class?
Yeah, Middle Tennessee. I was at that game. Covering it for the State News. With my other basketball part for the State News, Josh Ball. And when Middle Tennessee kind of got off to that hot start, and Izzo called that early timeout, me and Josh kind of looked at each other and like, wow, is this actually happening? And as the game unfolded, Middle Tennessee, I think a lot of people kind of expected them to start missing some of those shots, but they just never did. And every time Michigan State, I think there's 3 different points of the game where they were able to pull within 1 point, but every time that happened, Middle Tennessee would just come right back, hit like some crazy and one shot, hit some crazy like 3-pointer, and they just never stopped missing. And when that happens, I mean, there's almost nothing you can do. They shot 11 of 19 from 3-point land. And even after the game, in the post-game press conference, Izzo still wasn't really making any excuses. He's like, you know what, we just got beat here. And so, as for the perception of this year's senior class, this year they came into the season, they wanted nothing else but a national championship because they'd been to a Sweet 16 their freshman years, then the Elite 8, their sophomore years, the Final Four last year. So they felt like, anything short of that would be kind of a disappointment. And I think for them, they feel, and especially Denzel Valentine, when he was saying that he would remember it for the rest of his life, I think they feel it does affect their legacy. But I don't think it necessarily should. Up the top, and that's part of the allure and attraction of the NCAA tournament. But and especially Denzel Valentine, saying after the game that he didn't think that his number would be retired now, and like all this stuff. He took the loss especially harder than anyone else. But Izzo reassured that he's like, as long as he's around, he's going to make sure all those things happen. So, no, I don't think it should really necessarily affect the perception of the seniors class because they did a lot more, and it should focus on everything else they did maybe than just the one loss. And now, having that said, like, I think people, when you think of this year's team, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that was the team that lost to Middle Tennessee State. But what Izzo hopes, and what I'm sure the players hope, is that people remember everything else that they were able to accomplish.
And can you evaluate for me the incoming class for Michigan State and the current foundation of the program? I know that the loss to Middle Tennessee State was disappointing, but the future still appears bright for Michigan State, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does. It looks good, with the recruiting class they're able to bring in, Cassius Winston from the University of Detroit Jesuit. I had the opportunity to, kind of watch and cover him winning the state championship for his high school team. Miles Bridges, Joshua Langford, Nick Ward. They're all really solid players. Probably one of the better recruiting classes Izzo's been able to pull together. So I think I think it'll be really, really interesting to see how successful they are ultimately able to be next year. Because when you look at it, Michigan State is losing 7 scholarship players from this year's team when they go into next year's team because they lost the 4 seniors and Valentine, Costello, Forbes, and Woolman, and then Marvin Clark and Javon Best transferred, and then yesterday Deontay Davis declared for the NBA draft. So it's gonna be a lot different team. They're gonna be young, and I think something they're gonna have to figure out is the big men, because right now the big guys down low who are gonna be having a bulk of the minutes for Michigan State, is Gavin Schilling and the freshman Nick Ward and maybe Kenny Goins, who's a former walk-on. So I don't know if Izzo was able to find like a grad transfer or something. Now I think he's got 3 available scholarships. It's going to be interesting. I think maybe what you're kind of looking at is like a starting lineup of, Tom Nairn, Aaron Harris, Langford, Miles Bridges, and Gavin Schilling. So it's going to be a lot of different team, and they might suffer some bumps and bruises at the beginning of the season. But like we were talking earlier, Tom Izzo, Hall of Fame coach, don't count the Spartans out.
And my final question for you has to do with Denzel Valentine. Obviously, he was the heart and soul of this Michigan State team. Could you describe for me his legacy at the school and whether you think he'll be a first-round draft pick in the NBA draft?
Yeah, so like we were talking a little bit earlier, Denzel Valentine, when it's all said and done, after like maybe the Middle Tennessee loss cools off a little bit more, Denzel Valentine should go down as one of the best Michigan State basketball players ever. This season he averaged 19 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He's the first guy, I think it was, like since assists were kept track in 1983, 1984 season, like the history of the NCAA. He was the first guy to ever do that. And, this year he was one of the best players in the country. His legacy should go down as, one of the best players of all time. Not getting his number retired, fans cheering him on whenever he comes back. And I do see a bright future for him in the NBA draft just because of how versatile of a guy he is. He does everything on the offensive end. Izzo always praised him for having underrated defense. And Draymond Green was a guy who sort of played at the same type of game as Denzel Valentine that came out of Michigan State. And look at now he's doing fantastic for Golden State Warriors, who go for their 73rd win tonight. And I definitely see Denzel Valentine being a first-round draft pick.
Well, Ryan, we want to thank you for your time this morning and for talking Michigan State basketball with us on the Two-Man Advantage podcast. Have a great day, buddy.
All right, thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.